Hello comic book fans, this is your host Travis Duck Punch Collins here with this week's comic reviews for the books that came out on Wednesday, August 11th. And I've got 7 books this week, that's right, 7 because I couldn't make up my mind. X-Force Sex and Violence number 2 of 3, Batgirl number 13, Thanos Imperative number 3 of 6, Green Lantern Emerald Warriors number 1, Steve Rogers Super Soldier number 2 of 4, Zatanna number 4, and X-Men number 2. We gotta jump right into things, a lot to talk about. X-Force Sex and Violence number 2 by Craig Kyle and Christopher Yost with art by Gabriel Dell'Otto. The name says everything you need to know about this little mini-series. There's a lot of violence and some pretty disturbing sex. Wolverine and Domino are caught between the Assassin Guild and the Hand with just about $300 million at stake. Belladonna, the leader of the guild, has sent a whole laundry list of people to kill the two of them, but apparently the guild has bigger problems, as the last page shows. Now, Kyle and Yost have been awesome on this title, which I did scoff at when it was first announced. With another favorite writer of mine, Rick Remender, taking over soon, it's nice to see that these guys still had one story left to tell, even if it is pretty pointless. Dell'Otto's artwork takes some getting used to, and I can't say that I'm really a fan, but it isn't unbearable to look at. On the whole, this is a fun read, but with Second Coming finished and the new direction taking over soon, you could probably skip this and not be too put out. Next up, Batgirl number 13 by Brian Q. Miller and art by Pere Perez. This is my absolute favorite Bat book. It's a lot of fun. And this is coming from someone who really didn't know anything about Stephanie Brown, aka Batgirl, before the series started. Now, Batgirl is going up against Clayface in this issue. It's a standalone story, but it highlights a lot of the things that I really like about this series. Now, Miller is coming out of a slump here out of a way too morose calculator story arc, and is back in form here. This feels like a classic superhero romp, which is pretty much what I expect from my comics. Perez is good here. Nothing special, but good. On the whole, this is a good little ditty about a girl dressed up like a bat. If you have any other expectations here, you'll be disappointed. But if you are looking for a fun book that you can giggle at and not take too seriously, then you'll enjoy this. Next, Thanos Imperative number 3 of 6 by Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning with art by Miguel Sepulveda. Damn. I mean, just damn. I've been a huge fan of Abnett and Lanning since the first Annihilation event, and this book just gets better and better. The war at the Fault is taking a turn for the worse when our good guys are forced to retreat from Lord Marvel and his armada from the Cancerverse. Meanwhile, Thanos and the Guardians of the Galaxy have made it into the headquarters of the Machine Resistance in the other universe, where the secret history of that reality is explained. Now, decisions are made on both sides, with Nova forming what many are calling the Cosmic Avengers, and Thanos picking a fight with just the wrong person. It's no secret that Marvel's Cosmic Comics have been in trouble for a while, financially speaking, but Abnett and Lanning are dead set on convincing people with this title that there is a heck of a lot that hasn't been said yet regarding the adventures in space. While maybe I've just gotten used to his artwork, Sepulveda's art didn't really bother me here as much as it did the first 2 issues. While this miniseries will probably confuse a lot of people who haven't been reading Nova or Guardians, this is really the best event series I've read in a very long time. I love it, and I hope that we see more stories like it soon. Next, Emerald Warriors number 1 by Peter Tomasi and Fernando Parsarin. As I mentioned in the preview show from a day or so ago, Emerald Warriors is only 1 issue in, but it just might end up replacing Green Lantern Corps. It was that good. The story is that Guy Gardner is approaching the Guardians of Oa with a proposition to leave on an exploration mission into the unknown sectors, dun dun dun, where he has reason to believe that something bad is afoot. This is, however, a ruse, as Guy Gardner, a former Guardian named Ganthet, and the leader of the Red Lantern Corps, Atrocitus, have some secret plan that requires them to go out into the unknown sector. The writing here works on so many levels. This is a genuinely funny book. There's a lot of great action. The characters are very clear-cut. There's intriguing foreshadowing, and most of all, there's a great cliffhanger. In other words, it works on everything you need to have to start a new series. Parasan is alright, but I wouldn't go writing home about him. Between this and Thanos Imperative, Space Comics really just rocked this week. Picking one is going to be like picking which finger I want to cut off. They're just great this week. Next up, Steve Rogers' Super Soldier, number 2 of 4, by Ed Brubaker with art by Dale Eaglesham. If Ed Brubaker is writing Steve Rogers, you know you are in for a good read. The mystery from the first issue continues here as Steve Rogers is trying to find out who is selling his Super Soldier serum, try saying that 10 times fast, on the black market. Matters are complicated when more ghosts from his past show up, as well as a swerve villain who does just the unthinkable. Now, Brubaker's continuing writing a solid story here, which is more James Bond than superhero. As always, he really uses Steve's history to tell an intriguing story, and to keep the reader guessing as to what will actually happen. I can honestly say I did not see the ending coming, at all. Now, Eaglesham was, I think, born to draw Captain America, so you know you're definitely going to get a good-looking book. Do you have to read this book? Probably not. But if you like Ed Brubaker, or you just kind of want to see what exactly Steve Rogers is going to be doing these days, now that he's not Captain America, this is a fun title, and it definitely will keep you guessing. Next, Zatanna number 4 by Paul Dini with art by Chad Hardin. Now, I've said before that DC has needed a good magic ongoing since the end of Shadow Pact and the passing away of Steve Gerber. And Zatanna has not failed to impress. Now, our heroine is getting set to perform in Las Vegas, but is forced to deal with the Royal Flush Gang's antics, which she does so humorously. Unfortunately for her, the Hell Lord Mammon is setting his sights on her and has sent 3 demons to take her out. Now, Paul Dini is always going to be just great, but I will say that compared to some of his past work, this one was kind of meh. It was good, it just wasn't as good as what I expected. Hardin is doing a great job on artwork. I especially like that he doesn't overdo the sexiness factor like so many people who draw Zatanna do. Kudos. This is a solid issue, but I did have such high expectations for this that I guess I was a little let down that it didn't, completely rock my world. Last up, X-Men number 2 by Victor Gischler with art by Paco Medina. It would be really easy to brush this book off as total crap, but there's actually something remotely resembling a decent story here. In what is primarily an exposition issue, where they explain what's going on, Wolverine and Colossus meet up with Blade. Some of you might have heard of him, he's in a movie or 3, and discover that it is not Dracula that they're fighting, but rather his son Xeris. The new Lord of the Vampires, however, reveals that he is specifically targeting the X-Men, and that his weapon of choice is none other than Dear Sweet Jubilee. Gischler has really set up an interesting story. It started in his Death of Dracula one-shot, and things are really continuing to develop. Say what you will about capitalizing on Twilight or whatever, but Vampires vs. X-Men has been really neat, and it is refreshing to see this side of the Marvel Universe get fleshed out just a little bit more. Medina is alright, but his cartoony style really seems at odds here with the story. I think that the artist who did Death of Dracula, Kaman Kali, would have been much better here. Overall, it's a solid issue, but not altogether a must-read. But if things keep up here, that could quickly change. So there you go, guys. 7 books. Best book of the week, by a hair, by a nose. Thanos Imperative, just followed by Emerald Warriors. Worst book of the week? Probably going to be X-Force Sex and Violence, just because it's completely pointless. But Zatanna wasn't winning any awards either. As always, guys, please leave messages. Let me know how I did. Let me know if you want me to change anything. I look forward to hearing from you guys, and I try to respond whenever I can. Have a great day.